Welcome back to BYoungMinistry.com, to another blog and to another podcast. Today we continue in our study of the book of Genesis. We're in chapter 6, verses 9 through 12, which reads, "This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a just man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God, and Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. So God looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth." That's Genesis chapter 6, verses 9 through 12. Today we continue our study of Genesis chapter 6, where we have been observing the continuation of those who believed in the God of the Bible and those who didn't. At that time, the world was filled with people who were inwardly corrupt, outwardly violent, and upwardly rebellious. In verse 9 of today's passage, we read, "This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a just man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God." Noah's genealogy is the 3rd genealogy in the Bible. It was given here because he was at that point in time when he was the central figure in the biblical story. Noah, we are told, was a just man, which means in the Lord's eyes, he was found righteous because of his faith in the God of the Bible. Noah was a man of faith, and he was waiting for the Messiah who would one day come to this earth to redeem sinful man. Noah believed this despite the wicked state of the world around him and the growing belief that God was not good. Noah was a man who believed God when almost everyone else didn't, and God counted Noah's faith as sufficient and graciously forgave his sin, covered him with righteousness, and put his sins on Christ, who in the mind of God, of course, was the lamb slain from before the foundation of the world. Noah's faith led to this second description of him. He was perfect in his generations. Of all the people on the earth at that time, Noah was the only man of biblical faith. His perfection was granted to him by God because of his faith in God. It is only by our applied faith in the God of the Bible that brings us into a personal relationship with God, wherein we learn that salvation is a total gift from him. And our faith in the veracity of the God of the Bible is an act of our free will. Noah possessed this kind of faith, and this is why Noah walked with God. In verse 10 of today's passage we read, "And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth." All 3 sons of Noah were believers in the God of the Bible, along with their wives and their mother. Shem's descendants were the Hebrews. They settled in the lands around the east. Ham's descendants were the Canaanites that inhabited the land of Israel before Israel got there. They settled in Egypt and Africa. Ham was the son who saw his father drunk and naked after the flood. Due to that embarrassing moment, Noah cursed Canaan, the son of Ham, and made the Canaanites the servants of the Shemites. Japheth's descendants settled in Persia, Germany, Russia, Greece, and in Europe. In verses 11 and 12 of today's passage, we read, "The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. So God looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth." In contrast to Noah, the corrupt state of the rest of the world was evident. The people of earth were corrupt before God, and their corruption was acted upon outwardly in violence. They behaved in this way because they no longer called on the name of the Lord. Instead, they worshiped the creation or false gods rather than the Creator. And their actions spilled out into contempt of the God of the Bible. They openly and actively defied God to His face. They did this because they didn't know what to do with their guilt and shame. The same was true for you and me. That is, until we trusted in the finished work of the Lord Jesus, and our guilt and our shame was removed from us. Humanity is wicked to the core, and our wickedness has continued to manifest itself in continually degrading ways. Therefore, God has to punish man's sin. His holy nature requires it. But He has always been known to warn man of his degradation first. God has always extended His patience toward wicked man. And when man continues in his rejection of God, God has no other choice than to deal severely with unrepentant, sinful man. According to 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 5, Noah was a preacher of righteousness. This means he preached that God would grant His own righteousness to anyone willing enough to place their faith in Him. I find it very sad to say Noah couldn't convince anybody but his wife and family to board the ark. Noah and his family were the only ones who were justified by God. The flood is really history's most powerful evidence of the final destruction of this earth that is yet to come. The flood happened due to man's preoccupation with his physical appetites, materialistic attitudes, devotion to pleasure, rebellion against God, and unbelief, corruption, and violence. The ark only had one door through which Noah could enter in order to be saved from the flood. Likewise, salvation in the Lord Jesus Christ has only one door. We enter the door by faith in His once and for all sacrificial death on the cross and His bodily resurrection 3 days later. After Noah entered the ark, God Himself closed the door. The people outside who chose not to enter the ark's only door were left to face the destructive force of the flood. Today, we have only this one life to enter Christ's door of salvation. According to Matthew chapter 24 and verse 37, the coming of the Son of Man will be just like the days of Noah. All of the people were living their lives as usual. That was until the day that Noah entered the ark. Soon the oddity of the first raindrops ever led to the flood, and they all were drowned except Noah and his family. The flood provides for us historic testimony to the second coming judgment. It happened once in the days of Noah, and it will happen again at the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. Finally, also in Matthew 24, we read, "For the Son of Man is coming in an hour when you do not think He will." Noah and his family were saved from the flood waters by getting on the ark, which they had built for 120 years. And here, at the end of all times, man has a very similar decision. The decision is simple: to believe that the Lord Jesus Christ is the ark, and all who place their faith in Him will avoid God's final judgment, because He, the Lord Jesus Christ, bore the judgment of God on the cross for us. All we have to do is to believe and to invite Him in to our lives. My friends, I trust this blog and this podcast are helping you in your walk with the Lord. If I can be of further assistance to you, shoot me an email at BYoungMinistry@gmail.com. Hey, have a great